Hi. Welcome to
Hi, Carolyn.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing really
Welcome to
well.
Inventing Daily. Today, my guest is Dee Woolridge. She's a specialist on resilience, mindset, and communication. She's an amazing woman. Your resume is very impressive. With 30 years in the Navy, thank you for your service. You're a specialist in effective communication, a published author, a breast cancer survivor, is the ninth of 13 siblings, wow, and raising a daughter with autism. I'm not sure how you fit all that in and you look this good, so I don't know. Welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here, Carolyn. And I have to say, your resume is impressive. I think that we are, women. Both of us are high achievers in our own right. So listeners, if you haven't been to Carolyn's website, you need to go and check it out. It's like a one-stop resources of wow for inventors.
Well,
So,
I'm I don't have it anywhere on my website, but I'm in the middle of 8 kids. So, and you're ninth of 13. How
yeah.
do you think that's, I would say, molded or helped you become who you are?
Well, the things I learned, I call them my superpowers, because I was number 9, so not too big and not too little. So I had to develop a way to get my needs met. Because
Yes.
being in the family of 8, you just kind of get lost in the shuffle. Everybody get in the car, eat this, do
She
that.
who will not be ignored, right? Middle
So you have
child
to learn.
syndrome?
Yes. So you
Yeah.
have to learn how to communicate your needs. And I learned how to do that early on, or I was going to not have what I wanted or be left out or just not seen or heard. So,
True.
and
True.
in a big family, everybody is trying to get mom's attention, dad's attention, and be cared for or seen, because that's what kids do.
Right, right. It gives us, I think, a different perspective of how you negotiate. And I don't know about you, but I think that I learned how, like you said, to communicate. And in my family, I would say being in the middle, more of the peacemaker, because you're not, like you
Yeah.
said, you're not the youngest, but you're not the oldest.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. You
Um,
learn to manage up and down.
yes. And don't you think that the pecking order is still the same?
It is. I mean, it is. You mean after, as adults?
As adults, well, if we pretend to be adults, I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah, you kind of realize where your place is in the family, and that's part of the traits that you, or the skill sets you develop as a child. You kind of take those into your adult life. It's like, okay, this is how I learned to communicate, or how I learned to negotiate what I needed, and it worked there. Hopefully it worked there, and you're using skills that work. When they don't work is the problem when we get to be adults, if we're still using that pecking order.
Well, it's interesting because your focus is communication, so that goes across everything from
Mhm.
family to being in the service to
Mhm.
um, helping others. With inventors, I mean, a lot of the challenges that we have are based on, we're crazy. Just ask anybody in my family. I'm the only inventor, and they said, "Yep, she's the redheaded stepchild, no question about it." I actually am the only redhead too, so I don't know. But the rejection of people constantly questioning why we spend time on things that they don't see as relevant. How do you help somebody keep a positive outlook? And we face a lot of rejection, a lot of no's, a lot of just unanswered. And again, I don't like being ignored, so not getting feedback is hard. How would you help an inventor with that?
Having a positive feedback, a positive personal image and how you feel about yourself and the work that you do is paramount, because it's not what other people think about you. And that's what we many times we think we need that. I need them to know that I'm smart enough, that I'm good enough, that I can, that this product or this invention is good enough. So a lot of the times and I'm thinking, inventors are people just like everybody else. They just have a special skill set see, to see things and feel a need in the world that's not already there. So you have this gift that God has given you, but you don't believe, some part of you doesn't believe that someone will say yes. And so many people will give up. And so it's not just inventors, it's
Oh
everything,
yeah, yeah.
so first I would say is separate yourself from what you're creating.
That's easier said than done.
Well, I know it's like a realtor trying to sell a house for someone and appraises it and say, this is what your house is worth. And the person says, oh, but I love this wall. And the appraiser was saying, yeah, but the wall is a wall. So in order to sell this house, you have to separate yourself from the house and see it
Right.
as a product,
Or as a
and
business, or
a product
which,
or business or something.
yeah.
Yeah.
And inventors don't do that easily. I mean, it becomes all consuming. You
Mhm.
can't get out
Mhm.
of your own way, even when
Mhm.
somebody has a better suggestion of how it might be done.
Mhm.
We're doggedly determined that it has to be our way, which can hurt us, until we see that, maybe your opinion of it or your suggestion might be a better way. The constant no's
Mhm.
from manufacturers or
Mhm.
from suppliers or even at
Mhm.
trade shows, which we're doing differently now, is a challenge, and probably more so with family. They want to support us. They really do, and
Mhm.
I came to the realization that my family has supported me all along, just in the ways that they know to support me.
Mhm.
Sometimes that's not easy
Yeah.
though.
So I still say that if you know what you put into your invention, but you're separate from it, because you can lay that down and go invent something else and you're still going to be you. And as far as your family, remember that they're their own individual person or people, and that they may not support you in the way that you need, but they support you in the way that they can.
That they can, exactly.
So if you just say to myself, it's not what I need, it's not the kind of support that I need, but that's how they support me, and I'll accept it or not accept it. So I would say, if they're supporting you in some way, and if it's not bringing you down, accept the support, and then move outside your family. because,
Right.
because they may not, because I don't know, it's like you can be Jesus Christ in your home and they just like, oh, it's just Jesus.
Yeah.
And he's done these miracles other places, like, oh, it's just Jesus.
Yeah, that's
So
very funny.
you know what I mean?
I do. That's a great analogy.
So if you
Yeah.
find your support outside your household, somebody who doesn't know you or saw you with the lampshade on your head and know that used to pick your nose when you were little,
Right. Right. And they do
then
know all of those things, and they always come up.
yes, and they
That's very
always come
funny.
up. So they're going to have a different perspective in how to support you, because they've seen you at your worst or at your most vulnerable. So they know where your holes are, and sometimes they will poke at them. But other people, um, who you present your work to in your best light, you're going to put on your best shirt to go and see them and present to them. And if they say no, a no is not going to kill you.
That's
Right?
true. Yeah,
A no is not
that's
going to kill
true.
you. Keep believing in your product. If you keep improving it and open yourself up to improvement and I wouldn't say opinion, but listen to other people, because you were saying, Carolyn, that you don't want to take the advice of other people on
Well,
how
a lot of
to.
inventors feel,
Yeah.
and in my early days, I felt that too. They didn't know what they were talking about. And a lot of it is, how could they? They weren't walking
Mm,
down the same path, you
yeah.
know. And to your point, I think that going outside yourself, I believe you have a couple of programs on your website and how you help people. I think a big struggle for inventors is allowing ourselves to rely on somebody else. And how would you help an inventor, I would say, get outside themselves and learn how to collaborate? We have this fear of somebody's going to steal our idea. I
Yeah.
didn't, but a lot of
Yeah.
inventors do. And so they're afraid to talk about it. How would do you have a class like that to help teach people to be open to collaboration?
Well, I teach them. Well, first, I want to say that if anybody is afraid of having their invention stolen, they need to go to your website, because you have all the information on the licensing, patents, coaching, pitching, scams. I listened to one of your podcasts on scams and how not to be scammed. So first of all, they should do all of those things, do their due diligence to make sure that they're protected, and your site is a very great good resource for doing that. And once they've done that, those are the things that they can control, is putting all the things in place that they need to make sure that they are their product won't be stolen.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And I think, like I said, your website is a good I'm just telling you, it's the best website. Is it the only website of this kind? Because it's like I could have stayed on it for days looking at all the things that you put there. And then the
Well,
rest is okay. Go ahead. Go
well,
ahead, Carolyn.
there are a lot of others, and that's why we created it, is because there are a lot of people that the website looks good, but
Yeah.
they're not. So you have
Yeah.
to be, again, do your due diligence. But
Mhm.
the the collaboration part, I think it's
Yeah.
hard for a lot of inventors to be open to that.
One of the things that I say is to develop your intuition, your gut feeling. And nobody can do that except you. Like, how does it feel when you're talking to someone? And one of the things in communication that I teach is the colors of communication.
Yeah, I wanted to hear more about that. Yeah.
It's so simple that anybody can do it, and it's not something that I made up, but it's something that I teach because it's easy. Red, blue, green, and yellow. I would think that the inventors would be greens, the more analytical people, the people that like systems, they like details. So they're your engineers, your accountants, your inventors, the people that can just see how things go from here to there and how they work together. And they tend to be more of the perfectionist.
Huh.
And they may not be your best communicators because they are into things and data and mechanics and how they work.
Huh.
So it may be a little difficult for them, because they're so good over here, to communicate what their needs are to other people. So it's a skill that they need to develop. Then you have your yellows, who are they would be considered your hippie people. Like, they just love people, they have a softer touch, they let people in easily, they give people the benefit of the doubt. and they are more likely to be taken advantage of because they let everybody in.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of times they don't speak up for themselves, or they may know something, but they're the kind of person that plays more in the background. They're your support people. So and you probably have one of these in your family, Carolyn,
Yeah.
somebody who's going to support you no matter what you do. They're
Right.
going to go, oh, Carolyn. Okay,
They're
Carolyn.
there.
Okay, I'll go. Okay,
They're
no,
there.
I'm going to go with you. What are we going to invent? They have no idea what you're talking about, but they're going to be there to listen to you.
Right.
Yeah. So those people are, if you are an inventor with that's yellow, then I would say you are probably a good communicator, but you might be a people pleaser.
Oh,
So you want to say yes to things that you really don't want to say yes to things to. So you may need to take someone with you who's a red. The reds are your high achievers. Now, you can be a combination of these colors too. The reds are the high achievers. They're natural born leaders. So they may be the firstborn in the family. And because they're in charge, it's like you're in charge. You got to watch the rest of these kids. And
right.
they figure things out. Like, okay, we have 12 donuts. No, we have 6 donuts and 12 kids. Let's
Right.
figure out how to get this done. So when you're talking to a red, if you are an inventor that's a green and you're talking to a red's not going to want all the details of how you put it together. They're going to want to know how it's going to make money, because they're more money driven, or uh, they're more likely to monetize things. They're going to listen and go, okay, all right, now how do we make this happen? How do we bring this to the market? So I don't need to know all the details, but the green wants to tell all the details.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It's like, oh, but it's this, and they were just like, okay. And then you have the blues, who they just want to know, when is this gonna be fun? When you're presenting to a blue, they would just, blue is more likely to take a call in the middle of a meeting or to be distracted. They see more ADD. And sometimes you have, if you are an inventor and I'm going to work on this project and this project and this project, it's kind of hard to rein in a blue because they're so creative. And they want to work on everything. And it will drive a green personality crazy because they were
Crazy.
just like,
Yeah.
we haven't finished this yet.
Right.
So when you're communicating, and first figure out what your color is. And there's I can send you the link where people can take this test and they can figure out what their color is. You figure out what you are and what you thrive at. Are you a red, blue, green, and yellow? And you can also see if you're out of balance anywhere, because an out of balance green can be so analytical that they can get stuck.
Right. Right.
Because they want it perfect and they want every detail before they go and present. So they
Right.
got this manual that if you're presenting it to another green, the other green is going to appreciate and analyze it for you. And you're like, why are you analyzing my stuff? I've already done it. But the other green is going to want to pick it apart because that's what they do, because it's a natural way. Like my husband is, his second color is green. And I go, can you, and I'll just be so proud. And I'll go, hey, can you look at this? And he just immediately is like, this needs a comma. This, I was like, I just asked you to read it.
True. So true.
So what color do you think you are, Carolyn?
More green with a big dash of red.
Yes.
So
For you.
Yeah, it's interesting. And so when you're working with somebody, you have them do this color test first, and then you know how to help them help themselves, basically.
Yes. It's really helpful for them to know what they are. And then they start assessing the people around them and they go, oh. And then they start to appreciate that person's not being rude to me, or ignoring me. Because they're more blue, and that's their way of being.
Right.
And what I teach them is to, when they're working with someone or trying to build rapport with them, be their color. Because people are going to work with others that are like them. So if you are red and the person you're presenting to is green, you're going to have to get that green, because the green you're presenting to is going to want to know the details. And it
Right.
may be harder for a red. And if you are yellow, you're going to have to muster up some of those other colors and be brave and courageous and step up and say, no, I don't want this, or yes, I prefer that, which is sometimes hard for yellows. And if you are blue, presenting to one of the other colors, you're going to have to really focus on what the other people need. So it's to find out what you are, so that you can communicate, find out what you are so that you can appreciate your strengths, know where your deficits are, and assess other people that you're going to be working with, appreciate where they are. And if you want to work with them, build rapport with them in their color. Does that make sense?
That makes a tremendous amount of sense. And I think that, I mean, from talking to so many people, I can pick out a green in a nanosecond, and I'll say, well, you must be, are you an engineer? and or an attorney? And then I'll say,
Yes.
thank you for the warning. And they look at me and I said, but you think differently.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
I do design too. So working with people, you got to figure out, like you said, who they are. And if you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with somebody that's an engineer and the other partner is not,
Yeah.
how are you playing to that? I've never heard that before. That's a great way to approach it,
Mm-hmm.
because inventors typically are a little bit of everything, and then you have some that are the dreamers. Here, I came up with this, go do something with it, and want to
Yeah.
pawn it off on somebody.
That they're more likely blue,
Yeah, yeah. So
because they don't want to get in the details of
you do it.
bringing it to
Yeah.
fruition. They create it because blues are very creative. Greens are too, but greens are more systematic.
Right.
They like getting
Structure.
into,
Yeah.
they love it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you're talking to a green, you're going to use that kind of language. You're going to say things like, this is my system. This is how I structure this. This is my manual. This is the procedure. The greens get those words because they live in that. But if
Yeah.
you got it, right?
Yeah.
But
That's
if,
a great way to
yeah.
look at it.
And if you said partners, so if they're equal partners, then you are going to prepare for both of them. Who's asking the questions? And if a red is asking a question, they need to be, if a red is asking the question and you are green, you need to be succinct. You know, in the military, I worked for a lot of reds, and I couldn't come in with my long thing in a morning brief. They were like, too long, and they would just cut
Right.
me off.
Right.
So I learned redness when my briefs had to be succinct, because they just need to know, okay, what it is and what do I do about it? And then you go figure out the details.
Right. Right. That's, my son is a lot like that. Okay, get to the point. Get to the point. Come on. You know.
What's the bottom line? So if your red is probably more likely the money person. You know,
Yeah,
they
that
may be
makes sense.
funding this, and they're your CEOs, and your green is probably more likely going to be your CFOs.
Right.
You know, so they're handling the money because they know where all the money is.
Now, how did in the midst of your long career in everything, you've done a little bit of everything. How did that work in Hollywood? You also did some
Some
consulting in
consulting.
Hollywood.
Well, what we would do is we would get scripts. That's the first part of it. We would get scripts from different directors, also documentaries, books, and what they would want us to do is review them for accuracy, because
Oh,
they
okay.
want to portray the Navy as real life.
Oh,
So
okay.
we would review them and just like, that would never happen. and
Right.
so,
Well,
and
it's
then,
Hollywood.
well, and not everybody has to do this. Not all of the production companies do that, but we had relationships with some of the production companies, and it wasn't just the Navy. It was just all, we were in a building in California that, we wore civilian clothes. I'm going civilian clothes because we wore regular clothing, not our uniforms, and we were on a secure level, and it wasn't just the Navy. All of the branches had offices there. I was a public affairs officer.
Oh, okay.
So, and sometimes we would get together if they had all the military together in a movie. For example, I worked on Transformers,
Oh,
and or anything that they were doing on ships. I worked on a show called The Last Ship. So we would, anyways, it started out, we would review the script, then we would send it up the chain of command to the Pentagon. They would say yes or no, send it back to the studio, and then start, when they started production on it, they would want someone on the set.
oh, wow.
So we would be on the set. I had a chair. It didn't have my name on it. It just says Navy advisor.
Wow, but so you really had to know how to communicate, because now you're on a set with technical people and
Yeah.
crazy artists and
After you
actors.
get over being
And,
starstruck.
well, my daughter's out in LA, and that's what she does. And so, yeah, she's not starstruck, but I mean, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
a whole different mindset dealing with, I'm sure, with actors.
Well, they're not there all the time. Most of the
No,
time you're waiting. It's a long days
it's
of waiting.
hurry up and
And
wait. Yep.
and they can film one section 20 times, and it
Right.
can take a whole day for this 10 minutes of footage. But what we did was, when they're talking, sometimes the actors would ad lib, and we would just say, a master chief wouldn't say that to a commanding officer. So you just whisper, to the assistant director and say, that wouldn't happen. Or if they're shooting the big guns on the ship, and they're just standing there, I'm just like, if you're shooting the big guns on a ship, the ship's gonna rock. They should probably do something like this.
That's so
We review
funny.
uniforms and haircuts and things like that. So mhm.
Wow. So that evolved into your coaching and helping people with what you're doing now?
Well, if you spend any time doing anything, 30 years doing anything, and Carolyn, you can pretty much teach it,
Right.
right? So I know that you teach, you have some courses on your site. So it's just a natural thing. You've done it. It's like, and so you just naturally start mentoring and teaching people. And the military does that really well. They make you into a leader so that you can build other leaders.
Wow.
And that's how it evolved. It's like I was just the 30 years of teaching and mentoring and coaching, building other leaders as I was built as a leader.
Wow.
So
That
now I get to do it on my own terms without a uniform.
That's great. That's great. Where are you based? Where are you
I'm in
now?
San
Oh,
Antonio,
okay.
Texas. Yeah.
Ah, so you're not,
It's
you
nice and
didn't get,
hot here.
yeah, well, I'm in Florida, so it's pretty darn hot here. You didn't get hit with that last storm, did you?
No,
You're further in.
yeah, we're way inland. Yeah.
Right.
Most of the storms are Houston. They're on the coast,
Corpus
Houston area
Christi.
down there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're
Yeah.
about an hour and a half from Corpus Christi. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. My geography for the cities there, it's
Texas
Texas
is
is big.
huge. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
big. Florida, not so much. It can cross the state hopefully fast. We have another one coming. So
I see that. So be safe.
yeah.
I lived there for a while too. Anybody in the Navy has, you either West Coast or East Coast. So I did some time in Florida.
Where were you? Down on near the Keys, Homestead?
I was at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on the other coast from where I am. Well, you've got a lot of things on your website. I think that just your whole color presentation was fascinating. I think that would help a lot of people even understand who they are, because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us don't take the time to figure it out. We just get annoyed when people don't get us. So, I mean,
That's why, because they're not your color.
right, right. And I'm all about color as a designer. You can see the painting behind
I
me.
love it. Yes.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was actually done by a good friend of mine who's in Sydney, Australia. And she
Mm.
was in the States, and she and I worked at a design studio together. So it's a beautiful piece with.
Now you have it framed forever. It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, I'm going to let people know that now. What's the easiest way to reach you? Email or go to your website or?
If they go to my website, that would be cool. It's deewoolridge.com, and it's two D's, two E's, Dee,
Okay.
Woolridge, Woolridge. And if my husband was hearing me, the green part of him is saying, "You're not saying our name right." And I'm like, I married into this name. Woolridge, like wool on a ridge.
Oh,
Sheep's wool on a ridge. That's her name.
well, yeah. I'll put that information in the notes so that people can find you, because you have some great insights and communicate them very clearly. I mean, it was easy to understand.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Inventors of all colors get a little muddy. And so depending on who
Yeah,
you're talking to,
yeah.
no, that I think that would help a lot of people get clear. So I'll
I
put
think
your
the biggest
information.
takeaway is to know what you are, but when you are pitching, communicating, and want someone else to listen to you, you need to pitch and communicate in their color.
And that's a perfect way to put it. That's a
Mm-hmm.
perfect way to put it.
Because
Great.
that
Well,
communication, that transmission, if it's not in their color, it's gonna hit them and bounce off. They're just like, I don't know what they said. Or they're gonna lean in and just say, if you're communicating in a way they understand, they're gonna lean in and you are more likely get a yes because they've heard what you have. Or you're more likely for them to wanna know more.
that's important, even more so now, because everything's going to be done kind of like what we're doing, much more virtual. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of trade shows and walked aisles and met people face to
Mm-hmm.
face,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's face to interface on, on the
So
computer.
something that you can do if you are to know somebody's color when you're on virtually, look at what they're wearing. So a red is going to be more classic. Their haircut is going to be more classic. It's not going to be trendy. They're going to wear clothes that are that may look more expensive, or they're just more classic
Hmm.
and tailored. A blue is going to be more trendy. They're going to have the color in their hair, or the asymmetrical haircut, or something that's more trendy that's now. The leopard, they're going to have the leopard earrings if it's a woman, or a trendy watch if it's a man. The greens, a lot of times, and this is just my joke, and it's no offense, because my daughter's a green. She gets up, she puts on clothes as fast as she can so she can get to her work.
Well,
She goes,
Steve Jobs wore the same thing every day, and I thought that was brilliant because
yeah,
he had things to do.
He had things to do. So put it on. Don't mess around with trying to match things up. So look at what they're wearing. So if it doesn't have a lot of detail and if it doesn't have a lot of detail, it's just a regular suit. It's not like a fancy tie, or it's just simple jewelry, then they're probably green. A
Green.
simple haircut, they're probably green. And if they're going to have like crystals and stones on with long flowing things, they're probably yellow.
They're going to be a yellow.
And has a long hair with a ponytail or something like that with a more relaxed shirt on. He's probably a yellow. And yellows usually tend to communicate more softly. You know, their tone is softly. Reds are going to let you know that they're red and they're in charge. and greens are probably going over their notes.
Thanks for that, because I usually wear a lot of red. I've been trying to, I would say, tone it down a little bit, only because of making, you know, when you come on too strong, people take offense or they'll step back. Of course, everybody's stepping back now at 6 feet, but intense colors, because I'm a designer, colors will, people react to them because it's energy. So
well, it depends on what their color is. I'm red, so I'm red blue.
okay.
I'm red, blue, green, yellow. So look at my glasses and my lipstick.
Right.
That's like so when I see some color, it energizes me.
Right.
And it makes this like, if this feels fun, I can lead and still be myself. I can still be myself. But if I'm going into to see greens, I may tone it down. I'm just like, because if they're just going to look at my red lipstick, then they're not going to hear anything I say. So I'll wear more nude color. But my normal self is this.
A dash of fun.
A dash of fun, and be okay with that. And be okay with it.
Right. Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm going to go back and learn more and take that color test, because now I really want to know, and I'm going to have to let you know. Well,
I'm going to put the link on my website under resources.
Okay.
For anybody who wants to take the color test. It's not my test. It's the test that you do is by a guy named Mark Aceta. And you can even Google him if you wanted to, but if you want to, I'll have the test there. It's a self-assessment. It's fun. It's easy. And then start talking about it with your friends. And then you're going to start going, he's green. He's yellow. He's blue. That red. You're going to start doing that. Right. And then work on the parts where you have deficit in it. Like if you're like 80% green, you may need some more of the other colors so people get you. Right. So you start working on some of those things. Try a little bit of redder lipstick. And don't be afraid to do that, Carolyn, because you were just saying, I'm not going to do that. Look, you have red hair.
It's not that I don't do it. I wear a lot of red. I usually, in fact, I noticed that all my red shoes have worn out. I'm going to have to go get some new ones. My daughter wears a lot of red shoes,
look at you. You have more than one pair of red shoes.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. For a long time.
So you have red hair. I would just have fun with that. It's just like, have fun with it. Bring some more of that blue in.
There you go. Well, I'm going to put all this information on, and your information. And if anybody else would like to be on the show or has any questions about it, you can reach me at carolyn@inventingdaily.com. Please follow us on anchor.fm/inventingdaily. That's for the podcast. And we're on YouTube. This will be on YouTube shortly. So you can link with us there, and please like and subscribe. And Dee, I can't thank you enough. I love talking about color and energy and how people respond. it's fascinating. I've been a part of a couple of studies on color, and they're wild. They're can be healing, can be crazy,
Mm.
can be very insightful. So thank you, and we'll be back in touch, and hopefully we can do this again.
Can I do one more thing,
Sure,
Carolyn, for people
absolutely.
that, if you have listeners that are anxious or self-conscious or stressed, I have a free workshop.
Oh, good.
I have a free workshop, so I will send you that, the link to the workshop so you can offer that to people. So there's a workbook for the greens.
Yeah, of course. And a
For,
coloring book for the yellows.
you know what? I should have put that in there. But there's videos for, so it's a 7-part video, and then it's a workbook that you can do. It's all self-paced. It's totally free. And I poured years of learning how to help people with stress and anxiety into this workshop. And especially now, they need it now.
Oh, more than ever.
Yeah.
More than ever, because it's people are still, sequestered and afraid to go out of their homes or afraid to go
Hmm.
out and get the mail even. So
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
would really, oh, that would be terrific. And they can find that on your website?
It is, so I'm just going to say it, but it will be on my website here in a day, but it is workshop.dwoolridge.com.
Okay.
Workshop.dwoolridge.com.
Okay.
So it's on all of my social media. If you see me on LinkedIn, it'll say free workshop, and the link is there. On Facebook, it's all Coach Dee Woolridge on Facebook, and you can get the workshop there too. So, and like I said, it's totally free, 7 videos and a workbook. And you know what? I love that you totally get the colors, because you knew that a yellow would love a coloring book.
Oh, wouldn't that be fun? I my mom, mother of 8, and unfortunately my dad passed away very young, so she was left
Hmm.
with 8 under the age of
Oh my
13.
gosh.
And
Oh
she
wow.
used to go to the grocery store back in the day when they would have the big, the big banners, the
Yeah.
Del Monte, which was the big one,
Uh-huh.
and they would have vegetables of the week or whatever. And when
Uh-huh.
they were done with it, mom would ask them for those, but she actually didn't believe in coloring books. So we had the whole back of it to color on. She
I
didn't
love it.
believe in borders and boundaries.
Yeah.
So
So you had the whole thing and you could just color on that whole banner?
yeah, and then some of my siblings needed the coloring book with the lines,
The line.
and I'm thinking,
They
what,
were more
they
structured.
stay inside the lines, and I'm saying, what lines? Well, I don't know. I don't.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that.
love it.
Oh, I love that you have the workshop. I will add that because I think that could be really, really helpful for the stress level, like you said right now. I
Yeah,
think it's critical.
yeah.
It's we're all a little bit crazy, and
There's breathing exercises in there, diaphragmatic breathing, and I actually go through it with you, and there's diagrams for the greens.
I'm gonna have to sort out what I'm gonna send to which sibling. Some of them will get this, and some of them just no. It's great. Well, I have some information I'm going to send to you too, because I think that there's some synergy here, and I hope that we can play in the sandbox again.
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it. I love it.
Let's get I'll put all this information out there, and if you have any articles on your website, or just send me them, they can go on Inventing Daily, so that people can see a little bit more about what you do and how you work with people. And
Hmm.
the information you gave us today is it's brilliant. It's just, I think it'll help a lot of people.
I'm glad. Thank you so much, Carolyn. I think you are amazing at what you do. Keep shining.
Thank you.
Keep shining and keep helping those inventors bring their product to market. And I love that you have a place for them, that you set everything up for them. So listeners, if you haven't, like I said, if you haven't been to Carolyn's site, go there. There's a mountain of resources and articles and courses and things for you to just dive into.
Good, and they'll get to hear you too. So thanks, and I'll be back in touch.
Thanks,
Okay,
Carolyn. Bye.
bye.